Gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company from the freezing cold motorway service station of the M6, I am announcing that is the M6 south of the border. I'm announcing, should I have gone north and carried on through Carlisle, carried on up the motorways, which will have a completely different number north of the border. I would arrive in Glasgow. If I went through Glasgow, I would arrive at Loch Lomond, and there I would meet on the banks of Loch Lomond in his very warm cottage, the phenomenal, the amazing Donald Nelson. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Louis, Babasi, anyone else that's watching, could you please put your hands together and welcome Donald Nelson? And I'm going to be very rude. I'm going to watch this on catch up because I'm freezing to death here. So
Yeah,
we don't want you to freeze.
put your heater on and drive.
Yeah, I haven't even got a heater on this van.
Okay.
Okay, see you, bye.
I've seen
Up
you,
to you, Donald.
Right.
Take care, John Rowe.
Bye.
Safe journey.
Bye.
Well, hello everybody. Tonight I'm going to tell you some stories, and there's a slight theme, and the theme is trousers. Now, well, in America you would call them pants, but here, if you say to someone, if you mention someone's pants, that means they're underwear. So you want, you don't want to talk about people's underwear. Trousers, or in Scotland we call them trousers, or even trews. And there's a song about a young man who doesn't wear trousers, a Scotsman. What do you think a young Scotsman would wear?
Kilt.
Exactly, a kilt. And his name happened to be Donald. And there's a bit of Scots words in here, but you might pick it up. Just come down for the isle of Skye. I'm not very big and I'm awful shy. And all the lassies shout, oh hi! Donald, where's your trousers? A lassie took me to a ball, it was slippery in the hall, and I was scared that I would fall, cause I wasn't wearing trousers. Let the wind blow, let the wind blow high. Just come down for the Isle of Skye, I'm no very big and I'm awfully shy, and all the lassies shout, oh hi, Donald, where's your trousers? I went down to London town, had some fun on the underground. Then this lady turned around and said, Donald, where are your trousers? Hello, Pauline. Edwin. Just come down to the Isle of Skye, nobody big and I'm awfully shy, and all the lassies shout, oh hi, Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers? Donald, where's your trousers? That's the song about me not having any trousers. Now, as I said, sometimes they're called trousers and sometimes they're called trews. Hello, Molly, and hello, Pauline. And I'm going to tell you a story about a tailor who was asked to make some trousers or some trews. And this story comes from the village of Saddle on the Kintyre Peninsula in the west coast of Scotland. And Saddle is a small village, but they have an abbey, a church with a churchyard, the graveyard, and they have a castle. And in the village of Saddle lived the tailor. And the tailor was very, very good at his job. So good that the local laird, the laird is the lord, he's the man who owns all the land round about. Lots and lots of money. And he said to the tailor one day, he said, "Tailor, I want you to make me a new pair of trews." And the tailor said, "Oh, yes, sir, no problem. I'll just measure you up." So he took out his tape and he measured the laird's waist and he measured the laird's inside leg. And very carefully, he did that. And he wrote it all down. And he said, "Okay, I think your trousers, your trews shall be ready by next week." And the laird said, "Oh, no, I need them quicker than that." And the tailor said, "Well, I can maybe do it in a couple of days." And the laird said to him, "Could you do it in one night?" "Oh, I don't know about that," said the tailor. "I'll tell you what," said the laird. "If you can make me the trousers in one night, I will pay you twice what I would usually pay you." And the tailor said, and he said, "Okay, right, 3 times. I'll pay you 3 times what I would usually pay you to make me a pair of trews." And the tailor said, "Yeah, that sounds, I might be able to do it." And the laird said to him, "How would you like 10 times what I would usually pay you?" And the laird said, "Well," the tailor said, "Well, that's a lot of money, but I could do it. I could do it." "Ah, there's a condition," said the laird. "And that condition is you must make them overnight. And you must be sitting in the churchyard." And the tailor thought for a moment. "I don't really know if I want to do this," because he had heard that the churchyard was haunted. And he thought, how much money should I be offered to make a pair of trews in a haunted churchyard at midnight? And the laird saw him hesitating and he said, "Okay, I'll give you 12 times what I would usually pay you." And the tailor said, "Okay, I'll do it." So that night at midnight, he went to the churchyard and he took his needle and thread and he took, I must have a word with my props, man. He took his cloth, and this is the laird's tartan. This is MacHaggis tartan. And he took the cloth and his scissors into the churchyard and he sat down. Midnight, the church bells rang and he started to snow. To snow? No, he didn't snow. He started to sew. Always snows in Scotland, but not that night. And he took and he made fine, delicate stitches in the fabric. And he heard a rumbling noise, and the ground started to shake. And out of the ground came an enormous head. And the head looked at the tailor, and the head said, "Do you see my big giant head?" And the tailor said, "Yes, I see that, but I'll sew this." And he kept sewing, and the ground started to rumble again, and it shook and it rumbled, and the head came up more And the monster said, "Do you see my big giant neck?" And the tailor said, "Yes, I see your big giant neck. I see that, but I'll sew this." And he kept sewing. And the ground shook and rumbled, and shoulders appeared. And the voice said, "Do you see my big giant shoulders?" And the tailor said, "Yes, I see that, but I'll sew this." And the tailor, as you can imagine, was starting to get a bit nervous. Just a bit. And his fine, delicate stitches got larger and larger and larger, and I've lost my thread, and larger. And the ground shook again, and the body moved up until the voice said, "Do you see my big giant chest?" And the tailor said, "Yes, I see that, but I'll sew this." And he kept sewing, and his stitches got larger and larger and larger. And the ground shook again, and up the body rose more, until the monster was standing on top of a grave. And the monster said, "Do you see my big giant legs?" And the tailor by now was sewing and sewing and sewing, and he said, "Yes, I see that, but I'll sew this." And he kept sewing, and the tailor got up and he backed away, still sewing, until he got to the gate. And when he got to the gate of the churchyard, he put in his final stitch. And then he started to run. And he ran and he ran. And behind him, the monster came running and running and running. And the tailor could hear his big feet stamping on the ground. And the tailor ran towards the castle. And just as that, the sun was coming up. He'd finished the laird's trews, but he had to get them back before the monster got him. And he ran and he ran, and he got to the door of the laird's castle, and he threw the door open and he slammed it shut. And the monster stopped at the door, and he took his giant hand and he slapped the stone above the door, and it left a print, a huge handprint above the door of Saddle Castle. And the tailor gave the trews over to the laird, and the laird tried them on, and he was delighted. But he said to the tailor, these trews, I'm not going to give you 12 times what I would usually pay you for these trews." And the tailor said, but. He said, "No, I'm going to give you 15 times what I usually pay you." And the tailor said, "Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much." And the laird put them on, and he walked around showing them off. But what he didn't know was some of the stitches were rather long in these trews. And if you go to Saddle Castle, which still stands, you will see the handprint still there above the door after all these years. Thank you. Thank you.
Donald,
Yes.
for a moment when you misplaced your thread, I thought there was going to be a threadbare story.
Ba-boom.
These kind of jokes needle me.
That was my second comment, that the monster was needling the tailor.
I've got an eye for them.
Ah, now you see, we just sewn up all the jokes.
Well,
Oh,
I see the point.
Ah, I like that one. You left me in stitches.
You can't pin me down.
I could, but I'll stop if you will.
Okay.
Like this. I have one more, but I'm not going to give it because I said I'd stop if you will. I'm going
Okay.
back to being quiet. The
Jake on it.
princess is just so cute. Do you see her in the background? She is just so cute.
That's you.
Yes.
Meow.
Oh,
Meow.
meow,
Meow.
meow.
She's playing with a cat, but she was listening, weren't you?
Oh dear.
Have you heard that story? Have you heard Donald do that story before? I've not. I didn't know it was a place. I didn't know about the castle.
Yes, Saddle. Yeah, I used to live nearby it when I lived down in Kintyre.
Well.
Anyway, time is marching on, and I'm going out for dinner tonight, so I must get on with it.
More.
Yeah, right. Anyway, this is a story. It's a story that's told all over the world, but of course, you can adapt stories to anywhere you like. And this story is called The Three Egypts. Now, if you don't know what an Egypt is, an Egypt is a Scots word. The Irish use it as well, and it means somebody that's a bit silly. Anyway, there was a young man, and he was visiting his fiancée, the woman he was going to marry. And they were having dinner, and his fiancée's mum and dad were there. And the fiancée's dad said to her daughter, because that's what they call the daughters in stories, daughter, go to the cellar and fetch some beer for the meal. And the daughter said, okay, daddy, I'll do that. So she took the jug and she went downstairs into the cellar, and she opened the cellar door. I'm not very good at creaking noises. Can anyone do a creaking noise? Bubba, see, was that you making the noise, or was it just your bones?
This was my bones and me.
And she went into the cellar, but as she stepped into the cellar, she stopped suddenly, because on a beam just inside the cellar door, there was an axe stuck into the wooden beam. And she looked at the axe and she thought to herself, oh, that axe looks really dangerous. What if my fiancé and I get married and we had a son, and the son grew up and he came down to the cellar to fetch some beer, and the axe fell on him and fell on his head? I wouldn't like that at all. That would be a terrible, terrible tragedy. And she sat down and she started to cry. Oh. And she was away a long time, and her mother said, I wonder where that girl is. I'm going to find her. So the mum went down to the cellar, and she saw the girl sitting there, and she was crying. And her mum said, what's wrong with you? And she said, what? Look at that axe up there. What if I get married and we had a son, and he grew up and he came down here to fetch some beer, and that axe fell on his head? It would be a terrible, terrible tragedy. And mum went, oh, it would that, yes. And she sat down beside her daughter, and she started to cry. And they were away a long time. And the father said, I wonder where these women are. I'm going to the cellar to find them. So he went down and he saw the two women, his wife and his daughter, sitting crying. And he said, oh, for heaven's sakes, what is wrong? And they said, the axe up there. And they told him the story, what they thought might happen. Oh, That would be a terrible, terrible thing, said the father. And he sat down beside the two women and he started to cry. And the fiancé was sitting upstairs on his own. Well, that's it. Where are they? I'm going down to the cellar to find them. So he walked down to the cellar and he saw the three of them sitting there, and they said, "What are you sitting here crying for? The dinner's getting cold on the table, and where's the beer?" And they all said, "Look at that axe up there." And they told him the story. And, oh, you three are idiots, he said. One way to solve that problem. And he reached up and he took the axe down from the beam and he put it on the table. There, now it can't fall on anybody's head. "Oh, thank goodness for that," they all said. "Well, you know something," said the fiancé. "I've never seen three bigger idiots than you. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go travelling. And if I can find three bigger idiots than you three, I'll come back. And you, my darling," he said to his fiancée, "you, my darling, I will marry you." Well, off he went. And the three of them started crying again because the fiancé had gone. And the fiancé walked and he walked and he walked and he walked. And he came to a cottage. And on that cottage, there was some grass growing on the roof. And there's an old woman. And she was trying to pull a cow up onto the roof. And the young man said, what are you doing?" She said, "I'm trying to get my cow up onto the roof to eat the grass." He said, "Why don't you just cut the grass and throw it down?" No, I want the cow to go on the roof." He said, "What if it falls off?" She said, "Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a string round the cow's neck and I'm going to put it down the chimney and then I'll tie it onto my wrist. And if the cow falls off, I'll feel the tug on the string and it'll come out and I'll put it back up again." "Okay," said the boy, "if you like, if that's the way you want to do it." And that's what the woman did. She got the cow up in the roof eventually. She put the bit of string round its neck, down the chimney, onto her wrist, and the young man walked away. But as he was walking away, he heard a scream. And the cow had fallen off the roof. But the string round the old woman's wrist was a bit tight, and it pulled her. And it pulled her up the chimney, and she popped out the top, and she fell on to the ground as well. And he looked back and he said, "What an idiot." And he kept walking, and he was walking, and he's walking, and he got tired. And he thought, "Oh, we'll have to stop at this inn for the night." So he went to the inn, and the innkeeper said, "Well, we're quite busy. You wouldn't mind sharing a room with another man, would you?" And he said, No. That's fine, as long as I get a bed for the night." Well, he had something to eat and something to drink, and he went to bed. And the other man in the room, he went to his bed, and they had a good sleep. And in the morning, they got up. And the other man in the room took his trousers, and he hung them on the handles of the dresser. And then he went to one side of the room and he took a run and he jumped smack right into the dresser and fell on the floor. And he got up and he took a run and he ran towards his trousers and he jumped, hit the dresser, fell on the floor. And the young man said, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to put my trousers on." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I do this every morning. It takes me about an hour to get my trousers on. It's really annoying." And the young man said, "Hold on a second. And he took his own trousers and he said, this is how you put trousers on. And he put one leg in and he put the other leg in and he stood up and he fastened his trousers. And the man, wow, I never thought of that. I'm going to do that in future. And the young man said, I think that's the best idea. And he left. He left the inn thinking to himself, that is another big Egypt. And he started to walk, and he walked all day, and he walked all evening, and it came to night time, and he came to a village, and there was a village pond, and round the village pond, all the people of the village were standing, and they were all talking and pointing into the water, and they had rakes and they had brooms and they had sticks and they had nets and they were throwing them into the water and pulling. And the young man came up and said to someone, what's going on? And the man he spoke to said, look, in the water, the moon is falling in the water. And they tried to get the moon out. They couldn't get the moon out. And they were, every time they tried to get the moon out, there was just ripples and ripples. And the young man said, hold on, everybody, hold, stop. And everybody stopped and looked at him. And he said, look up into the sky. There's the moon up there. And they looked up into the sky. And there was a moon. And the people said, that can't be the moon. The moon's in the water. And they all started again, trying to get the moon out. Come on. And the young man said, look, the moon's up there. I said, no, that's the moon in there. It's falling. It's going to drown. And he said, I said I would go on my travels and I would find 3 bigger Egypts than my fiancée and her mum and her dad. And I found 2. I found the old woman who tried to get her cow onto the roof. And I found the man that didn't know how to put trousers on. And now I've found a whole village full of Egypts. And at that, he turned and he went away back. And he went away back to his fiancée and her mum and dad. And he told them the story of all the people he had met. And he said, you know, I called you 3 Egypts before. And I'm sorry for that. But you must remember, you shouldn't really worry about things that might never happen. And they all agreed, and the young man and the woman get married. Yeah.
Donald, it took me a moment. Certain dialects, certain places in the States, they say Egypts too.
Yeah.
You know, and people who are ignorant, they're ignorant.
Ignorant.
Ignorant, yeah. He's ignorant.
It's probably been brought over by the Scots and the Irish.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. You know, well, one of the wonderful things about the States is that a lot of the dialects and slangs are from different cultures. But it just seems that African Americans have added a little oomph to them. You know, like in the South, if you are getting on someone's nerves, they may say, God bless your heart, instead of arguing with you. But it's not a compliment because they've just told you to go to, you know, God bless your heart. You know, but anyhow, your stories just move me. I'm trying to be quiet, but your stories just move me. And I love the way you tell them.
Oh, thank you.
But in the chats, I wrote a terrible pun. I'm only going to do one. If the guy with the trousers had worn kilts, he could have skirted the issue.
Oh.
I'm going back to being quiet.
I've got one, but I'm not going to say it because it might start it all again. We've got about 10.
Oh,
Well, actually,
well, you've got to address these things.
yes. And the people with the axe, they should have actualized a better solution. Okay, I'm going back to being quiet. Next story.
Yeah, or you'll get the chop. Okay. Right. Right. Next story is this is actually a Russian story. Quite a famous story in Russia, and it's about a dog, and the dog's name is Shiro, and Shiro was getting very, very old, and he couldn't do any work in the farm. He just lay there beside the fire all day, and he would get up and he would go over to his food bowl and his water bowl and lie in front of the fire. And the farmer who owned Shiro had served this farmer for a long time, herding sheep and all sorts of different things that dogs do for farmers. And the farmer said, I can't afford to keep a dog that does nothing. I'm going to do something with him. So he took Shiro out for a walk one day, and he took him into the forest, deep, deep, deep into the forest. And he tied Shiro to a tree. And he left Shiro there, alone, all alone. And Shiro thought, what's going on here? Is he going to come back? And Shiro waited a long, long time. And the farmer never come back. And Shiro was getting hungry and thirsty. And Shiro thought, maybe if I go to sleep, I'll wake up and it's all a dream. And he just went to go to sleep. But when he woke up, he was wakened by a voice. And this voice said, hello, dog. And Shiro looked up. And there was a wolf. And the wolf said, what's going on here? I saw that farmer earlier on tying you to a tree. Now, he's gone and he's not come back, has he? And Shiro said, no, he's not come back. And I had such a good life. I would just lie in front of the fire and I would have food and I would have water. And now I'm out here in the forest tied to a tree alone. And the wolf said, do you want to get back? Do you want to get back to the farm? And Shiro said, oh yes, I would love to. Okay, said the wolf. I have a plan. And the wolf chewed through the rope that tied him to the tree. And he said, this is what we'll do. Tomorrow morning, the family, it's harvest time, and the family will go out into the fields. And they've got a new baby. And they'll take that baby out to the fields with them. The whole family will go. The farmer, his wife, his two sons, his daughter, they'll all go out to help with the harvest. And they'll leave the baby at the side of the field. Well, I'm going to approach that baby. And I'm going to sneak right up beside the baby so that the farmer and his family don't see me. And then, as soon as I get right close to the baby, you run out the bushes and start barking. And I'll look at you, I'll be scared, and I'll run away. And the farmer will be so grateful, he'll take you back to his house because you saved his baby. That's a fantastic idea, said Shiro. So next morning, Shiro hid in the bushes near the field, and the wolf sneaked in right next to the baby. Shiro started barking. Everyone turned round. They saw Shiro chasing the wolf away. And the farmer said, oh, Shiro, I'm so grateful. You saved the baby. I'm so sorry for leaving you in the forest. Oh, please come back. Oh, come back to the house. And they took Shiro back to the house and they gave him his bed next to the fire and they fed them better food than they'd ever had. And they were just so, so grateful. Well, Shiro, a few days later, walked out into the yard to go out to yards to do what dogs do out in yards. And he heard a voice coming from behind the shed. Shiro, Shiro. And he looked round. He couldn't see anyone. Shiro, over here. And he looked, and there was a wolf. And the wolf said, you owe me. And Shiro said, what? He said, I got you back into the farmer's house. Now you've got your nice warm bed next to the fire, and you've got your food. Me, I'm still out in the wild, and I'm getting pretty hungry. Tomorrow is the harvest feast, and the farmer will invite everyone from the area, all the other farmers, to his house, and they'll all bring some sort of food, and they'll have a big party. And I want you, Shiro, to get me some of that food. And Shiro thought for a moment, and he said, I know. If you come into the farmhouse and hide under the table, I'll pass food down to you, and you can eat it there. What a great idea, said the wolf. So before everyone arrived at the party, the wolf sneaked into the house, and there was a big, long tablecloth right down to the ground. And he sneaked underneath the tablecloth, and he lay there. And everyone, all the farmers and the families from the area arrived, and they put the food on the table. And they were all having a great time. They were eating turkey and beef and all sorts of vegetables and fruit, and they were drinking beer and wine, and being in Russia, vodka. And Shiro went up to the table in the middle of this, and he took a big leg of lamb off the table in his mouth. And one of the guests shouted, look, farmer, look, the dog's stealing a leg of lamb. Don't worry about that, said the farmer. That dog saved our baby's life from the wolf. He can have anything he wants. And Shiro took the leg of lamb underneath the table and gave it to the wolf. Oh, thank you. And the wolf started to eat it. Oh, it was delicious. And after a while, Shiro looked under the table, and all there was the lamb bone. Do you want some more? He said to the wolf. Yes, please. Well, Shiro went back up to the table, and he took a salt pork, took it in his mouth, and someone else said, look, farmer, look, the dog's taking that salt pork. And the, excuse me, the farmer said, don't worry about that. That dog saved our baby's life, and that dog can have anything he wants. And Shiro took the pork under the table and gave it to the wolf, and the wolf started to eat. And after a while, Shiro looked under the table, and the wolf was halfway through the pork. And the wolf said, can you get me something to drink? This pork's making me really thirsty. Shiro said, okay. So he went up to the table, and he took a jug of beer, and he took it down and gave it to the wolf. And the wolf pardon me, drank all the beer. Ah, that was good. And he started to eat the pork again. But of course, eating salt pork, it was so salty, it made him thirsty again. And he said, Shiro, bring me something else to drink. And Shiro said, okay. And he took a jug of wine and he put it under the table. And the wolf he drank all the wine. Well, he drank all the beer and he drank all the wine. And he started to feel a little Mary. And Sheila looked under the table and said, hello, Wolf, how you? That was great. Thanks very much. Can you bring me something else to drink? And Sheila said, okay. So he brought him down some more. And he drank some more wine. And by this time, he was very merry. And I don't know if you know, but sometimes when people have had some beer and they've had some wine, they feel like having a little song. And the wolf started to sing. Now, if you've ever heard a wolf sing, they sing a bit like this. Oh, oh. And the wolf started to do that. And Shiro went under the table. Shh, shh. The people all hear you. Don't bother about them. I'm fine. They won't hear me. I'm not singing loud. Oh, oh. Shh, shh, quiet. Don't bother me. Oh. Everyone in the room stopped talking. They looked under the table and there was a wolf. Shiro ran under the table. The wolf started to run. Shiro chased the wolf out of the room and up and out of the farm. And Shiro walked back. And the people said, Shiro, 3 days ago, you saved the baby from the wolf. And now you've saved every one of us. Shiro, you are a hero. Thank you.
That was great.
That
Our
was
cat
great.
thought you were a real wolf.
Really? Did it have the claws out in it?
Not really. I don't think he's learned about claws yet. But he came
Oh,
out.
the
He's
baby.
been under the sofa for 2 weeks and he's come out for your stories.
Pauline,
It-
if you keep the cat's claws clean, he'll be or she'll be a Santa Claus.
Do you hear that?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
This is the pun hour. I like it.
yes,
Donald, your stories is great.
that's left me feline terrible.
I want
Oh,
to
and he's not kidding around.
Hold on, Louis, were you saying something there?
Yeah, just two things. One thing is Donald, I love the stories. And
Thank you.
And second thing, Babsy, Pauline,
Yes.
and I'll see you guys next time. Babsy, I'll see you next Friday because I'm in Oakham. I'm going inside now.
All right,
Lovely to see you, Louie.
enjoy your swim and enjoy your friends.
I will do. See you later, guys.
Thank you, Louis. Bye.
All right,
Bye,
take care.
Louie. Bye. Brilliant.
That's Louis, sometimes called King Louis, sometimes called Lord Louis, but always called Louis. Hey, Donald, I'm so glad you played the guitar. I tried my hand at playing the guitar, but my deaf neighbors protested, so I had to stop.
Yeah, I'm just looking for something here quickly where you're talking about King Louis.
Oh, you're going to sing us a song?
Yeah, why not?
And I once tried to play the harmonica, but it wasn't harmonious.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
You know
once
they used
tried
to-
to play the drums. Ba-doom.
Ba-doom. Oh, yeah, I snared you into that one.
yeah,
Ba-dum, bump.
where are we? Where are we?
On a semi-serious
I don't
note, I really
know.
like your sky piece.
The alphabet.
I really like your sky piece, your daub, your hat.
My hat.
Yeah, I like it.
That is a genuine Stetson.
All right. I think I used to own a Stetson, or my father did. You couldn't tell me. I don't know what happened to it. I used to own a gray and white, a gray and silver hat, mostly gray, and I really liked it. I don't usually wear hats. I wear crowns and kufis. I'll make this real quick because I know it's your hour. But I used to wear it, and someone said, "You look like a black Kenny Rogers." I said, "No, I don't." So I'm walking down the street one day, and this little blonde kid looked and said, "Hey, mommy, look, a black Kenny Rogers."
That's brilliant. Kids know.
talking about King Louis.
Yay.
I'm the king of the swingers, a jungle VIP. Reach the top and I have to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Wanna be a man cub and stroll down into town. Be just like the other men, I'm tired of monkeying around. Oh, we do wanna be like you. Wanna talk like you, talk like you too.
I know this
See,
song.
it's true, and they like me. Can't let to be you into. Don't try to kiss me, my cop. Made a deal with you. I desire is man's red fire to make my dreams come true. Give me this secret man club. Show me what you do. Give me the power of man's red flower so I can be like you. Oh, we do wanna be like you. Wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You'll see it's true, and it's like me. Can't let to be you, it too. Loop-a-da-da, zip-a-da-da. Skidly-bop, 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 whoa. Root-a-da-da, and a big banana. What a skidly-bop, 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 whoa. I like your mannerism. We'll be at 7th win. No one will know where my club bands and the orangutan begin. When I eat bananas, I won't peel them with my feet. I'll become a man cub and learn some etiquette. Oh, we do wanna be like you. Wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You'll see it's true, and ain't like me. Can't let to be you meant to. Zup-a-da-da, eep-a-da-da. Skidly-bop, 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 whoa. Zup-a-da-da, and a big banana. Skidly-bop, 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 whoa, whoa. We do wanna be like you. Wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You'll see it's true, and they like me. Can't let to be you meant to. Can't let to be you meant to.
Donald, what you just did, part of what you did is called scatting. Do you know who started scatting?
Oh, goodness, it must have been, I don't know.
Well, there are several schools of thought. And the one that's, I'm not quite sure it's historically correct. Oh, I just looked it up. All right, well, no, that's not it. Okay, so Louis Armstrong, also known as Satchmo, used to scat. And when someone asked him why he started doing that, later on in his career, he admitted in one of his memoirs or interviews, he said, I forgot the words. And I was in the middle of the song and I forgot the words, yes.
Wow.
However, Ella Fitzgerald, I hope I got her name right. I should not get her name wrong, especially during Black History Month in the United States. She was considered the queen of scat. You have to be careful when you say scat because it has two different meanings, totally different. Musically, scatting is the creative thing of you know, like doody la ba ba dee da ba ba, you know, that's but anyhow, Louis Armstrong was known for his prolific scatting, and Ella Fitzgerald was considered the queen of scat in the musical sense. I just felt compelled to share that with you, and you did it well, by the way. When I sing, it sounds like I'm scatting.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I thought it was maybe, oh, what's his name? I've lost his name. You know, Minnie the Moocher. Yeah, just
Oh,
Cab Calloway.
Cab Calloway. He was a great scatter,
Cab Calloway, yeah.
you know.
He was,
And believe it or not, scatting can be traced back to West African singing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything goes back to Africa.
Yes, eventually, one way or the other. And I'm not complaining.
We've all gained out of that.
Hey, so I'm supposed to do a bit of business here. First of all, let's have a rounding round of applause for Donald Nelson.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Thank you.
Especially to those of us scattered around the globe listening to his magnificent singing and scatting. I had to throw that one in,
Yay.
Donald. Oh, I see we also belong to the eyewear club, the glasses club.
Oh, we all are.
Yeah, you know, that's not bad. Okay.
Molly,
So,
who's your
I'm-
glasses?
Where's your glasses?
Say again. Oh,
Cats don't wear glasses.
Cats don't wear glasses. No.
well, I knew a cat that did. Oh no, he was a hip cat. That's a jazz term. Okay. So real quick before I forget, and before we sign off, I want to invite everybody to join us this Sunday for the worldwide story round. All times are UK times or British times, and it'll be at 6 p.m. I got that right? Right. And then Tuesday. Everyone's is invited to join us for the Young International Storytellers session, and that'll be at 4:30 UK time. I get that right? 4:30?
Think so.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
right.
because it used to be 5, so it's 4:30 now, and we're going to have whether we have 2 people or 22 people, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be great. Don't miss it. And then the upcoming, starting on the wait a minute, I leave the 11th, so it must start on the 12th.
Well,
Yes. So on the 12th, from the 12th to what, the 20th, it's going to be the Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival.
yay!
And there will be a combination of live and Zoom performances. So we want everybody to join us on those dates and to continue to support your local artists and your global artists. And we're all going to have a great time. And John, wherever you are, we hope you're getting some rest and that you're warm and not cold. That's John Rowe. So on behalf of the story, and we have to thank Ali for driving the magic carpet. I don't know when he sleeps. So
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Ali.
Ali.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Asante
Metron.
Sana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So Donald, do you want to say one last thing before we all sign off?
To thank everybody. That was really good. Just a shame there was not more people here, but never mind.
There-
We had fun. And
Yes.
Maybe watching on Facebook.
They'll be watching on, but see, we had an intimate gathering. We had an intimate gathering. That's what I call when we have small groups of folk. I don't ever call it small. I always call it intimate. It's an intimate, because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten our puns in. Oh, wait, excuse me.
yeah,
Right, you
yeah,
know.
tons of puns. So
And Pauline, what is your daughter's name?
Molly.
Molly. Thank you for joining us, Molly. We're very glad. Feel free to join us whenever possible. We're glad. And Louis, wherever you are getting swimming, I challenge you to go swimming without getting wet. I've only known one person who can get in the water without getting wet, and they did not have on a wetsuit, which keeps you dry.
mm,
Yeah, I know. Very, very, Donna, with your permission, may I tell that very quick?
sorry.
With your permission, may I tell the story about the student that got in the water without getting wet?
Yeah.
It's a quickie. All right. So I used to be the director for a summer enrichment program. And every year we took the kids swimming. And every year I'd offer $10. This was back in 1900 when $10 was worth something. I'd offer $10 to anyone who could get in the water without getting wet. I said, but you can't wear a wetsuit and you must actually get in the water. And so this has been going on for years. And one day, a relatively new student popped in his head in my office and said, Baba C, is that still offer up? Is that offer still there? I said, which one? You'll give me $10 if I can get in the water without getting wet. I said, yes. He said, I'll be right back. So he came back with this humongous piece of construction paper, drew a great big circle, and then wrote all around the outside of the circle in the water. And then he stepped inside the circle.
Sweck.
He was in the water without getting wet, but he wouldn't take the $10. He said, no, you're always giving us things to think about and you do so much for us. Put it in the pizza fund and do something nice for everybody else. And that's what I did.
Brilliant.
So, hey, Donald, anytime, man, anytime. So I guess that wraps it up for the nap. I'm scatting and I'm not even singing. I guess that wraps it up for now. So everyone, Pauline, Molly, Donald, those of you listening to the Facebook, those who are going to listen to the playback, and Ali with the magic carpet, everyone have a fantastic Friday, a superlative Saturday, and a special spiritual Sunday as you're tuning in to the World Round Storytelling Round. All right. In for John Rowe, I'm Baba C. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, Abdi. Cheers, Donald. Bye.
Cheers, Donald.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. That was fun. Thanks, Ali. I look forward to meeting you.
Welcome, Baba, anytime.
All right. I will see you in Marrakesh. Our tickets are already set and everything.